And now, News 4's Weather Extra with Chief Meteorologist David Paul.
Welcome into Weather Extra this evening. If you missed it earlier today, we had a beautiful rainbow. Capture this with the Southeast Health Cam looking to the east of Dothan. Some raindrops on the lens on the east side of town. This was actually a full rainbow. I know that's only about half of it, but it did extend around the entire horizon looking eastward. No gold, unfortunately, but a beautiful rainbow nonetheless. And kind of rare to see a rainbow or any raindrops on any camera lens anywhere around because it's been so dry for so long. And you know what? We have drought developing. No surprise here. We've been kind of monitoring the soil moisture this week, that graphic we showed you earlier, and it is turning dry across a good chunk of southeast Alabama, most of the Florida Panhandle, most of the Big Bend, and most of South Georgia. So officially D0, the categorization, this came out today and included data through Tuesday, so abnormally dry. But I see this getting worse and worse and worse as we go through time because there's really not much hope for any decent widespread rainfall looking out, honestly, 10 days to 14 days. That said, there will be days like today where some areas do okay. Blakely, for example, picked up 0.85 inches of rain. Mariana, a bullseye there in Jackson County, 0.43 inches. And I know Miller County isn't showing up on this map, but there was a big bullseye there in Miller County of over an inch of rain. So as we get more and more into the convective season, the individual thunderstorm cells that form over an area can dump some heavy rainfall, but many more areas stay dry than get wet. And that's kind of the setup here for the coming days. So you look at Dothan, we are 17 days now rain-free officially at the Dothan Regional Airport. 17 days without any rain, and that's why the landscape is turning so dry out there. I know the grass is being stressed. If you have any new plants in the landscape, make sure you water them. All those potted plants, the flowers, everything needs a good drink pretty much every 2 or 3 days because we've seen a lot of sunshine. It's been breezy at times, and there's been just a lot of dry air. It's getting a little more humid now, but the atmosphere certainly is taking the moisture out of the ground. So speaking of the sun, you know, that sun angle is getting higher and higher. Here's a look at more information with meteorologist Zach Webster.
Temperatures turn warmer as we get closer to summertime, colder as we get closer to wintertime due to the change in the sun angle. More specifically, we'll take a look at the solar noon sun angle. That's the highest point in the sky that the sun reaches each and every day. Here in Dothan, the solar noon sun angle is at its lowest point right around December 21st, right around the winter solstice, when that sun angle is around 35.5 degrees. Then as we head through the spring and into the summer months, that solar noon sun angle gets higher and higher. It reaches its highest point at June 21st, right around the summer solstice, when it reaches an angle of around 82.2 degrees. Then the reverse happens. We head through the fall and eventually back down into the winter, and that sun angle gets lower and lower once again. So what does that mean for our weather? As we already mentioned, the solar noon sun angle is at its lowest during the winter solstice, and it's at its highest during the summer solstice. As that solar noon sun angle gets higher and higher, that means you get a lot more solar energy concentrated into one smaller area as opposed to lower sun angles. What that means temperature-wise is you usually see warmer temperatures with that higher solar noon sun angle. You also see a much higher risk for seeing sunburn as well.
And speaking of that sunburn, I was looking at some of the values for the weekend. Given the high sun angle this time of year, you could burn, depending on your skin type, in anywhere from 8 to 18 minutes. So sunscreen will be important. A lot of outdoor activities happening this weekend as the heat builds in. We're going to look at that heat, look at the record potential, and go in the yard. That's next.
And now, News 4's Weather Extra.
Welcome back to Weather Extra. If you are new to tuning in to this show, we do some fun segments every now and then, including going in the yard as you kind of see what I'm doing as we get ready for whatever it is seasonally, springtime, summertime, fall, winter. We'll be doing all kinds of outdoor activities. This week we are working on the fruit trees. Have a look.
Welcome to In the Yard this week. The spring work continues. I have a nectarine tree here and some other fruit trees to apply some insecticidal soap to fight back against some of the insects that can come on this time of year. And I've got some dead growth here and there on these trees too, so time to prune those up. Let's go. This tree is a goner, unfortunately, but you're not. Peaches and nectarines are one of the few fruits that you can actually grow from seed and get a viable tree that will produce fruit in about 3 to 4 seasons. You never know though with a peach if this will be a nectarine tree or a peach tree. All depends on the genetics of that seed that you planted. This is a volunteer tree that grew from a pit that was in the compost that was put in the garden last year. So I'm gonna pop this one out and put it where that dead one is. Out in one scoop, in one scoop. Give this baby some water, let it grow. To fight back against the insects, I'm going to use this organic insecticidal soap. I don't have a lot of fruit to protect and the trees are pretty small, so I'll spray out of the bottle. But the goal is to protect these fruit from the insects so they can grow up. That is, if the squirrels don't get them first. That's always an issue for me. This peach tree is tiny, but when I've gotten fruit off of it, it is amazing. That's it for this week's edition. I'll see you next time in the yard.
I'll tell you all, the squirrel issue I have is out of control. I've got 2 big pear trees, and the last couple of years, I mean, there's been 200 pears on those trees. None of them. I get none of them because the squirrels take them all, and probably the same thing with the nectarines and the peaches. But, you know, doing this segment is good for me because it forces me to get out there every week and get the chores done. So I've got some content to share with you. So motivation, right? We're all in this together as we get the yards ready for summertime. And hey, it's going to feel like summertime over the coming days. Let me show you the heat that is building across the south. We have a ridge of high pressure. I got a buzz. I messed up on that. Let's see if we can get this to advance. Nope, it doesn't want to. Okay, I'm gonna go back here and do it manually here. Let's go back and back this up. All right, so this is what we're looking at. We're looking at a trough of low pressure out to the west and then kind of a ridge of high pressure building over the southeast part of the country as we get towards Tuesday. Notice the cool air over the Rocky Mountains and points northward, and that yellow and orange shaded area over the southeast, that's the warm air that is building in. We'll see that warm bubble of air just linger all the way through next week. So it will be hot around the Wiregrass. We're looking at potential record high temperatures for especially Saturday and Monday. The record for Saturday is 89, set back in 89. The record for Monday is 90, set back in 2017. I'm shooting for 90, our high temperature on Saturday. That would set a record. And 92 on Monday. That would set a record. And we could tie records some of these other days all the way through the middle portion of next week. So dry for the most part and hot certainly as we go through the next several days. That's it for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night right here on News 4. Good night.